Hello there, folks, and welcome to this King of the Planet. It's been a long time since King of the Planet has been around, but it's come back, and this time Pag Eladea, the current king, has been challenged by Oxide Ion. Now, let's see how this goes out. As always, it's a best of 5 in a series of 1 versus 1s between the king and his challenger. So we'll just have to see how this goes. So, on the northern spawn here, we've got Eladea. Going bots first, air second. Fair bit of eco there. Meanwhile, on the south side, we've got Oxide, again going bots. Air second, then bots, then air, then bots, then air, then bots. Then that's a very long build queue. But the fact is, it's bots and then air for both spawns. So, this is a curious one. Not usually deviant from these. However, the spawns are quite close, and what makes it, I suppose, interesting is the amount of eco that both players have elected to go for at the beginning. Like 3 mechs early on with no power yet from Eladea there. Oxide, meanwhile, going a bit heavier on the power. I mean, what is a common tactic at the moment is to get out the combat fab and reclaim some of your commander for a little bit of boost to early metal. With the amount of metal in your spawns, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Perhaps later on they'll get that going, but at this point, at this sort of level of play, I'm not sure that that'll work out very well for them, because what you need at this point is you need your build power, you need your factories, and you need the actual army to go around. So, air coming out already from Eladea. He's getting a bit of scouting going off, seeing if there are any fabbers he can bomb maybe later. Trying to prevent any fireflies, but not quite managing it. Oxide managing to quite cleanly manipulate that firefly there to make sure it got a little bit of scouting, but it didn't die either. So Hummingbird there, seeing a few fabbers. Now, interestingly, with this planet, this whole bit in the middle is, of course, you know, you can't pass through it. It's a big old wall in the way. So you have to go around the sides, and around the sides you've got lots of other mechs. And around the poles you've got mechs as well, plus a nice little ocean here. So, all in all, there are a number of ways the players could approach this. They could approach it in terms of trying to win the air and then get bombing, and because there's so much metal around that it's going to be a big thing to go around and raid. Equally, they could go into the water. There's a lot of metal there, and the coastline is gives the base in range of T2 naval. A few docks exchanges there, nothing too fancy. Alternatively, you could go vehicles and just try and ham your way around. Again, on the back, there's all of this mechs. So it's all to play for. We're going to have to keep an eye on what on earth is going on in this game, and it's going to be an interesting one because, of course, Oxide and Eladea, top players in the game. So, second air coming out, double bots from Oxide. Meanwhile, Eladea's finished those factories, getting ahead in the air game. Don't forget the docks are amphibious, so they can go around the water here. You can already see a few bits of wreckage. The thing with the docks is they can't fire while they're in the water. So, keeping your docks on the coastline like this is a good way to get off a few free kills. As you can see quite clearly here. Good few kills. Now, typically, in this sort of... Wow, yeah, I was going to say, if you've got the bases this close together, pelters are going to be very, very useful. And if you can get that pelter up without being seen, then that's going to be crucial. I think it has been seen there by the Hummingbird. No bombers coming out yet. Maybe he'll want to try and nab a bomber. There's no Galata there to defend against those bombers. Air games continuing to be traded. Docks moving around from Eladea, just to try and get off these fabber kills. Not going to get around this side. He's walled in nicely there with a nice turret. Again, they could bring some grenadiers over, perhaps. And that's another thing you could do. Just sit some grenadiers on the other side of these crevasses and outcroppings there, and that'll be just fine for you. These fabbers, though, not going to finish that pelter unless the docks decide not to move in. The thing is, are they going to get bombed? No, they're not. There's no bombs around. Air game continuing to be traded there, and there's the thing, you don't even need grenadiers. It's just a docks that can reach over. So it's all, this game is going to be all about who can get up the most build power first, and who can deny the expansion mechs, because all of this mechs here is relatively easy to defend. You know, you can expand a base pretty easily that way. And with the amount of mechs in the bases, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some very early plays for T2. Now, interestingly, these two fabricators survived to the extent that that pelter is going to be able to go and start being a nuisance to Eladea. That's going to be quite critical here, because that could start shelling away things like the radar there, or the mechs. Radar's not going to be too bad to lose, because with the proximity of the bases and the air presence, they're going to get the extra scouting very soon anyway, so it shouldn't matter too much. Nice Firefly placement from Oxide, being able to see a good bit of naval there, seeing if any docks are moving around, or what have you, what's going on. But around here we're going to see continuing to trade air, though. The bombers don't want to come in just yet. They both get taken down. That was unfortunate. Really nice couple of picks there from Oxide, though. This is playing right into his hands. He's got the pelter up. He's getting the air game sorted. And he seems to be blocking Eladea in whichever way he decides to come in from. There are a few docks from this side, though. Perhaps they can make a hole here, getting rid of some expansion. You can see the economies there. Oxide starting to take the lead. Going to mean he can get up some more build power sooner rather than later. And there's the T2 queued up. T2 vehicles, very nice indeed. Yeah, vehicles or bots either on this one, because you can get slammers through the water, or you can get vehicles and shellers. Just, ugh, yeah, that would be nasty. Good bit of raiding here from Eladea. It's not doing too much. I mean, there's just so much metal in the base. A good number of fabbers though, so we'll probably see that T2 when it does start really rush up very, very quickly indeed. Looks like it might be after all of these air factories. I don't know, maybe he'll reprioritize it, but he's struggling for his eco a little bit. I think that might just be because of these air fabs trying to rush up this mechs, but he has got that naval factory. He is getting the torpedo launcher. It's going to be quite a good foothold to have going into the mid game here. Because it means he's going to be able to prevent Eladea from getting into the water himself. We'll have to see how he plays out, because of course Eladea might decide to actually come round and off. Can he get some fabber picks there before the Glata goes up? No, he's not going for it. Instead he goes for another air trade, and he's going to lose out badly here. Or not. He actually did quite well there. He did lose his bombers, but still. Thing is, he's lost his window now to get rid of this naval installation because the narwhal's out. T2 vehicles being rushed up very, very quickly indeed. Look at all that build power on there. He's struggling for a bit of metal as a result. But all of these docks from Eladea have managed to successfully come in round the back. Might be able to take down a factory here if they focus it. I think what would be wiser for them to do right now is maybe just try and get some scouting going. Maybe take out the radar as well, yeah. Factory's not the big one. At this point, he really needs his intel. Has he seen the T2 factory? I think he has. Yeah, he's seen the T2 factory going up, so he's going to respond with his own. If we look up in his base, yeah, there it is. There's the bots. So there's an interesting one. Eladea going for bots, while Oxide has gone vehicles, and Eladea being the reactionary one. I might have expected vehicles, but no, he's gone bots. Oh, very nice Uber cannon. Which suggests to me, with his bot play, that he's going to be doing something with the water, or trying to get a lot of slammers out, because of course that's really the useful T2 bot there. And the number of docks trying to get through the wall, they're going to manage it. Interesting to see how Eladea is playing this. He's just trying to outmass docks here. The problem is, going further and further in, we're going to have to start seeing vehicle engagements. Oxide is beginning to transition into vehicles. He's got his first T2 Faber out. He's going to get the economy there. Maybe some extra build power, but what he really needs at this moment is some advanced mechs. If he can get up advanced mechs on all of these things and keep that Faber alive in the process, he is going to have a big economy boost, and I mean big. Bomber's getting taken down though, that was unfortunate. The air to escort those was taken down. This could be a good raid here. This could get a lot of mechs done. He's outnumbering. There's no bombers to deal with this. All Oxide can do is try his hardest to reroute the units there that need to be there. Docks coming in, still no bombers. Managed to take down the pelter, which is good. It means that Eladea might be able to get up the mechs on his side of the ridge there. These docks continuing to push in. How much damage can they do here? They don't necessarily want to go in. I think they've lost their window. Maybe just go around, get a bit more of the mech snipes there. Just hold Oxide back from expanding too rapidly at this point. But this is the thing. Look at this. Oxide has the water. And there's the commander on the shoreline there, getting his torpedo launchers up. But I don't know quite how he's going to be able to deal with this going forward. If we look in the army tab there, Oxide is 4 factories up. Unit counts are roughly similar, and the economies are roughly similar as well. Oof. I did see a bomber there from Oxide, so Oxide is beginning to factor in bombers. He realises that needs to happen, but he's getting up his T2 economy, which is going to mean that he is going to be much more viable going into the next build in terms of what he's going to be making in the next part of the game. A couple of fabbers coming out though, trying to progress a little bit further forward, getting up some intel, just making sure he knows what's going on. Interesting to see Sparks coming out against... Yeah, okay, well those will be able to deal with the docks, but I don't know about the vehicles. He kind of wants to get some vehicle factories, I think. He has got Slammers. Slammers and Sparks might be able to make a good push. We will have to see. They are not amphibious, so they will not be going into the deep water there. This side though, more raiding from Oxide. Good to see that Elodie has managed to grab all of this, but Oxide now deciding that enough is enough. Going to take it back for his own. Bombers coming in though. I think it did get taken down there before too much damage was done. Flak. You're going to build... Well, that makes sense actually. Except he's pushed his army out far beyond the flak. Flak has been scouted. He's decided not to build it. I would have just built some Galata, pushed forward. Yeah, there we go. There's the Galata coming up. Getting the... Really? A bit of miss micro there, I fear, from Elodie. Ooh, Commander! In range of some Slammers. Ooh! Ah. That's interesting, to say the least. A bit of Galata there, just shooting stuff down. Slammer not quite going to survive against levelers. They've seen the levelers now. They've seen a second advanced factory, which is good. Soladan knows that he's going up against a heavily levelery army. What are these cheeky fabbers doing? But significance is typically Slammers aren't great against levelers. Levelers tend to outclass Slammers. So it's all about how Elodie uses these Slammers to dodge the levelers. Problem is, most of the base is quite localized, and now with advanced factories on both sides of the base, that sort of mitigates the travel time for the vehicles. If they're all on one side of the base, they can get to the other because they're being built there. So a third advanced factory. The economies though, not looking too great. We're starting to see bombers from Oxide as well, which is good. He realizes he's getting the air game nicely. Ooh. Pelican combat fab drop. Where's he building his teleporter? Now this is the thing, Elodie is starting to lose a bit of his advanced mechs. I'm curious as to why he built that so far out instead of just building it in his base. That makes no sense to me. Fab has managed to get up a pelter again, taking down the teleporter rather, and this is the thing that I was talking about earlier. The advanced naval in this pond is going to be a crucial part of this game because of the range that it has. Unfortunately, the combat fabber doesn't survive. He did not have the support there. You need to have support if you're doing something like that in that range. I mean, Elodie surely knows that. He surely knows that Oxide is going to have that on his radar. And the problem he's got now is that he's massing docks against a leveler army, which isn't necessarily the way to go. And now if we look in the army tab, we'll be able to see a unit count disparity, quite a sensational one at that. About 100 in the difference there. And Elodie still doesn't have the air game back. He's got a lot of bombers though. Maybe he's trying to get a bomber snipe going on that commander. Maybe he thinks that the commander will be out in the open, that he'll be able to sneak off a quick bomber snipe. Maybe he's going to use this to take down all the levelers in one pass. Wouldn't be surprised. He's showing the bombers. Yeah, he's going for the levelers. He realizes base defense at this point is the more important way forward. Levelers do start to go down. They're so tanky though, but in come the hummingbirds! And the air game from Eladir, again, completely mopped up. A little bit too late to save that push the levelers, but what about the next one? This one around the back here will get rid of all of Eladir's expansion when it decides to push out. These pelters. These pelters are a win right here. Such a win. If you could just get a pelter line all the way across that ridge, that would, you know, defend against any push. Going back to the economies there, though. Double metal income. Oxide to Eladir. C2 Naval finally completed. We'll probably see some Leviathans and or Kaijus. Probably Kaijus because of these torpedo launchers. Wouldn't be surprised. Maybe a Leviathan for the range. He can ensure the Leviathan survival because he has the air game. He just needs to get rid of these torpedoes. But yeah, this air presence from Oxide is going to be the game changer. Well, I say changer, but you know the main focal point of the disparity between these two people now. These two players. It means that he's just... Eladir is just not going to be able to get into Oxide's base. I mean, look at this. He's coming in with the smallest of air forces versus Oxide's massive armada here. And, yeah, there's the GG. There was no way he was getting in there. Absolutely none. Oxide just flying ahead, making all the right plays on the planet. And deciding to transition to vehicles. I think going bots was an interesting choice by Eladir, which didn't necessarily pay off. And he certainly didn't put enough power into the air game. Maybe he thought he could win early with the gaps here and just out-docks the docks and just go from all different sides. But with the way that the base was so focused in one location, that just didn't work. And that was unfortunate. But 1-0, 1 love to Oxide Ion in this King of the Planet. So here we are in Game 2 of King of the Planet 13 between Eladir, the King, and Oxide Ion, the wonderful challenger. Now, this is Pacific, a 1 versus 1 map. And because Eladir lost the last game, he got to choose. And he chose Pacific. Of all things, he chose he chose specifically Pacific. But yes, it's an interesting one because you got completely different dynamics in a naval game, and there are a number of different factors to take into account. Now, looking at the starting builds before I explain those different factors. Naval first, going into bots, lots of power from Eladir. Going from Oxide's point of view, we've got naval first, going air, then bots. Now here is the thing. On Pacific and naval planets like this one, the main games are in the air game and crucially the naval. Because the naval is very much a tug of war while the air game is your sort of raiding and keeping people at bay and your scouting and all that jazz. So, both players are going to be wanting to take all of this metal for themselves. This is where those sort of battle lines are going to be drawn on this side of the planet. Equally on this side we'll probably see some skirmishes, but because of the locations of the mechs, people don't tend to focus on those too much. The reason they go bots is to play for this island and also to get a combat fab out to reclaim some of the trees here, so we'll see that from Eladir, no doubt. Indeed, there is the combat fab from Eladir. Just going to turn the sound down after this game. Well played there from Eladir. Defending his expanding fabber from piranhas. Basically the docks of the sea. Have a neat bit of raiding, these guys. Raiding potential there. Early game fabber sniping. But yeah, so the naval games tend to be very tug-of-war-ish with a whole air game going on. Because the moment you win the air game you can assist with submarine pushes. And then it's a case of your opponent having to go to narwhals, and narwhals don't have torpedo defense. And so basically you're forcing your opponent to react to your snowball, which, as we all know in strategy games, is, well, the path to a sorrowful defeat. So it's going to be interesting to see how the players go for this. Also with T2, the moment you see an opponent going T2, you got to go T2 yourself. Now this is an early T2 from Eladair, nicely done. Rushing it up there, 3 fabs and a commander. He's got the eco to support it. Maps like this, T2 rush is very much a thing because naval T2 really changes the game up because it means you can rush out a whole bunch of T1 factories with your T2 eco there up and sorted. It also means that you can start pushing with Kaijus and Leviathans and even Krakens in some cases. We are seeing Krakens used a lot more in games actually. So I think players have finally realised how to play with those. The Kaijus, of course, because they hover, they are immune to torpedoes. Leviathans have the range. Krakens have the DPS. Krakens are super squishy though. So this is what I mean from Eladair. Useless strategies. What are these docks going to do here? They're not doing anything other than getting a bit of scouting. I suppose he can get onto this island here and do a bit of, well, a bit of nice raiding, but I think this thing is trying to launch torpedoes. It's just not quite happening because there's a big old, well, island in the way. There you go. There's a Barracuda to counter it. Now there you go, Eladair. That's a nice bit of strategizing for you. Finally sorted that out. Better bombers coming in though. Doing a bit of raiding there. Now again on naval, they've finally seen. There we go. They've seen the T2. Didn't quite get the T2 Faber snipe. It's semi-crucial. I mean, look at the economy from Eladair now. He really needs to get up this T2. He desperately needs it up there and ready. Finished. It's not quite saving his mechs just yet. He needs his power up now. He's got a barnacle. Blistering barnacles. I don't see nose. Ooh, he's reclaiming. He's reclaiming his con with a barnacle. Very nice. Very nice. Getting that little bit of extra metal, meaning that this fabricator can actually do his stuff with that eco. But look at the expansion from Oxide. If we just zoom out here, you can see. Look at the economy tab. You can see the disparity between these players right now. And the thing is, with Oxide, he needs a bit of power, but he's got his T2 out. He's working on it. And the moment his power goes up, he's going to spam out T1 factories like there's no tomorrow. I mean, if we look on the build queue, he's already working on it because he knows he's going to have the T2 power up in time, that he can start using those factories to just spam subs. Doc's here, getting taken down by a bomber, not great. Managing to snipe the bomber, but still. I think he needs to stop producing docks and start worrying about the naval game because that's where the big fish are going to be frying. And looking around the factories there, we've got one air from Eladair. We might see some more air factories coming around later in this game. Barracudas now though coming out and managing to put a stop to all this metal expansion from Oxide. Eladair might be a little bit late though, because look at the power differential now. And that's going to mean that Oxide can continue to bolster out a few things. There's a Kraken, you see? Krakens, they're coming in. I like Krakens. Krakens are really interesting. Good bit of Barracuda raiding on this side now, though. Will he take down the radar? Can he take down the radar? I don't know. But taking down this Mex is good. Down it goes. Taking down that Mex is going to be good because it's going to bring Oxide back to the level that Eladair wants him to play at. He's basically saying, well, you've got all this Mex. I don't want you to have all this Mex. And focus the Kraken. Does he see the Kraken? I think he did. I think he did definitely see the Kraken. He's getting some radar up at long last, though, so he's actually going to be able to have an informed decision about. This is the thing about the tug of war now. You see this wave of Barracudas. They'll get in, by which point there'll be a counter wave of Barracudas from Oxide. And then it'll get down to about the middle, and then Eladair will push with a counter wave of Barracuda, and it just keeps going like that until you can just outproduce your opponent to the point of redonkulousness. Or do some other crazy strategy, like these docks. They could come onto this land and tear down a bunch of these power gens, because there's nothing here to defend apart from these docks, and they're not going to be enough. Now, Commander's stopped to reclaim, Eladair's semi-caught up. Barracuda's splitting up a little bit. not sure what I feel about that. Now look at how squishy the Kraken is. This is why most people don't tend to use Krakens, because they require a bit of micro to keep at the back of your army while the Barracudas soak all the torps, but down goes that Kraken. That's quite an investment. But now you see what I mean about the wave being in Oxide's favour. And now Elidea needs to counter the wave. Alternatively, is just going to push up the sides with these torpedo launchers. That's one way of doing it. But there's enough Barracudas here to negate all of that. Now, something to remember: walls in the Navy do not stop torpedo launchers. They don't do that. They just don't. So this whole expansion here is going to go down relatively quickly. Where are those torpedoes going to come in? Oh, they do stop torpedo launchers. Was that added in? Because they didn't used to. I don't know, maybe they just had the angle past the wall that they were able to shoot at those things. But this is the thing, that whole expansion up that side that Elidea was trying to get up there to maintain some map control has just been completely countered. Over on this side though, Kraken pushing out, nicely done. Again, against all of this expansion. It's just about raiding and counter-raiding expansions, and it's also about knowing when to push out and when not to push out. Because you don't want to push out with a half-baked force when your opponent is just going to have far too much, and then you've lost a whole bunch of your force for not really much of a gain whatsoever. And these Barracudas, that's a pretty decent force. Because look at the build power there. If we go in the army tab, you can see factories. Kaiju's coming out as well. That'll change things up because of course they don't get hit by Barracuda torpedoes, or any torpedoes. Doing a bit of factory raiding there from the Barracudas. Yeah, naval games are rather interesting in PA. They really, really are. Wait. Oxide's commander's pushing out? What is this? That's an interesting place to push your commander out to, Oxide, when there are Krakens in the water. Because Krakens, of course, are really good at taking down commanders. If you just pop a Kraken there, that commander will be toast. He will be burnt toast. Now, what players also like to do is get up Hulkins. I was going to say lobbers there, but they haven't been called lobbers in a very long time. To get out Hulkins to negate any of the expansions and the defences, and then pop up a whole bunch of advanced torpedo defences. But does the T2 Fabber to 5? Yes, it does. That's good. But it seems here that the advanced Fabbers aren't necessarily doing that. Let's look in the build queue now. They're just going for the economy right now. If we look in the economy tabs there, Oxide just wants that economy. He needs it. He's trying to produce so much, but he's just not quite managing it at this point. Do the bombers get the advanced Fab? No, they don't. And the Galata is up. And this is what I mean about these sort of proxy bases that push forward. You build these up, and then it's a nightmare for your opponent to have to deal with. Down goes the Barnacle. The Kraken. Ugh, you see, look at that. But they're so squishy that, Krakens, their main weakness is against other subs because of the fire rate of the torpedoes. It's insane. But the Krakens are there, they're ready, taking down that torpedo launcher with no problem whatsoever with the Hellfire missiles. And now we have the wave in Elidea's favour. He's not going to be able to get into Oxide's base because look at all of these units here. Especially on this side now with the Barracudas, jeez. Look at this. Oxide managing to establish map control on every avenue. He's getting up torpedo launchers here. He's getting them up here as well. And it's just going to hold Elidea back and be annoying. And it's going to cause Elidea losses to his army that he could do without right now. Because he's trying to push into Oxide's base and he's just not quite managing to do it. He has a gap here to go straight up the middle, but he needs to at the same time defend on this line because he needs to stop Oxide being able to expand so aggressively and put up a defensible position. And that's why you see him continually trying to bash through here. But now the wave is in Oxide's favour. Are there Krakens in there? No. Yes. One. There's one Kraken. But I mean, it's a really interesting one to call because naval games are really curious. Typically with naval games, you don't see who's going to win until there's one straw that breaks the camel's back. And then everything happens. Now, this is why you want the bombers. Krakens can shoot bombers accidentally, so they want to be careful. There we go, got shot. That's so annoying when that happens, but now the Krakens are at the coastline. They have range over the base, and what can Elidea do against this? His docks aren't working. His subs are desperately trying to give chase, but they're not quite managing it. His own Krakens are trying to raid expansions. But at this point, what he doesn't need is expansion killing. What he needs is army killing, and he just doesn't have the army count. If we go back to the army count there, 38 units to 140. That's 100 and something subs versus 10. There's no way. I mean, this is what I mean. And now that you see that unit disparity, you can clearly see who's going to win. I mean, in naval games, that's all it takes, is just that much of a unit disparity and an undefended base and a few careless fabber losses, and the GG will be called. The commander's on half health anyway. There's nothing else to defend this commander. There's no possible snipe mechanics coming out from Elidea. He's not going to manage that. He's lost a bunch of his factories. He's 6 factories behind anyway, so he was 3 behind before. Now there's another Kraken in his base. More economy going down. He just doesn't seem to be able to keep up with Oxide. Who is this challenger? Of course we all know Oxide. Very, very strong player. And now this is the thing, going the air game is an interesting choice from Elidea, because with the naval production from Oxide, all he needs to do is just pop out a few narwhals, and then bingo. The bomber game is negated. Up goes the Galata, and there's going to be nothing those bombers can do against it. More bombers trying their hardest, but it's just not... It's just such a tough nut to crack. And here comes in the next wave of subs. Are they going to manage it? Taking down more factories. Oh my word. This is so GG. Surely Elidea knows. I mean, just look at the unit counts, there's 100 difference. Factories, 10 more. Barracudas in range of the commander, and there's the GG. Amazing. 2-0 to Oxide in this King of the Planet best of 5. Elidea needs to win the next game. Otherwise, the crown is duly passed on to Oxide. So, let's hop right in. Hello there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Third game in King of the Planet 13 between Pag Elidea the King and Oxide Ion the glorious challenger. In brown, going bots first. Many bots. And many more bots. Elidea, meanwhile, just over here. Bots air. I suppose bots will count follow up thereafter. Interesting map. Does anyone recognise it? Is anyone getting some PA nostalgia? This, of course, is a moon. These were all that were ever played on by the higher ups. back in the days of old. Back when Docks meta was the only meta. Back when all you ever built were docks, maybe the odd bomber. But this is going to be an interesting game. It's not a symmetrical planet. It's nice to see. We're going to see a lot of early metal expansion. We're going to see a lot of early bot play. And we'll probably see slammers. Maybe a transition to vehicles thereafter. And of course, when you see the transition to vehicles, the opponent must follow suit. It just has to happen in a docks game like this, because if you get up enough vehicles, you then start to get rid of the advantage that the bots have in their numbers. So, as we follow this wonderful docks, what are we gonna see? A snipe of a docks. Where's he going next? Nowhere fast. Okay, well, he's gonna die there any second now anyway. So that was, well, a waste of time, but what do we see? We see positions trying to be defended with some turrets, which is good. Curious as to why he changed over there. He had enough time to do that, although I suppose maybe he thought that he didn't necessarily, because of course he doesn't necessarily have the intel on these locations, so that's why maybe he didn't think he had the time to work on that. Well, the air factory comes up from Oxide now. 3 bot factories already out there, docks already on the prowl, 34 units. So he's already got the raiding force, and this is more than just a raiding force at this point in that unit disparity. It depends on which angle he comes in from, because of course this is a moon, so he can come in from any direction unhindered. Can we get the Faber snipe here? That'll be a nice win if we do. A little bit of weakened, and yeah. That's glorious. Faber micro there. Hummingbird tries to come in to save this Faber's poor legs. Doesn't come in. Extra micro required to save this Faber. He keeps the metal extractor alive, but unfortunately goes down. Bomber lives to snipe again. More docks presence around the rest of the planet from Oxide, so already we see the game going in Oxide's favour at this point, simply because he has the unit counts, he has the raiding forces in all the right locations. Fortunately, can he get the Faber kills? No, he does not. What? Very curious. More bombers coming in though to defend. The Fabers! The Fabers! Oh, they're saved. Thank heavens for that. Oxide realises though he needs to get into the air game a little bit, and we see the Hummingbirds coming out. Raiding force up the north. Docks versus docks. You don't expect to see much else than that on a moon. Wonder when we'll see the transition to vehicles. The 6th bot factory going up from Oxide now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bot factories from Eladea. Do we have any vehicle factories planned? No. More bots, of course. But the mech's raiding is real from Eladea. This is good. He's managed to catch up on the economy. Is that because he's being reclaimed? No, it's not. So he's expanding better than Oxide at this point. He's raiding perhaps a little bit better as well. But in the army tab, though, Oxide does have the unit advantage. So if Oxide plays a little defensively for a while, he'll be able to mitigate that. He'll be able to expand and catch up a little bit. But on a moon like this, it's all about can you raid and can you prevent your opponent from expanding. So the incentive there is to play aggressively. You have to be able to stop your opponent's economy flow. And if you can do that, then you get the docks advantage and then the snowball rolls. And that's what Oxide's going to try and do right now. Taking down this position now. Unable to do so. There's a wall in the way of a turret. Backs off, consolidates his numbers. Will circle round and push in again. On the other side though, Eladea trying to come in. Manages to take down another Faber. Another win on this side. Down here, These two are having a little disagreement. Why? Children, please. There we go. Finally, they shook hands. Made up. Unless that was some elaborate whole long handshake in the first instance, but I don't know. But anyway, interesting decisions to build the radar so far forward. He pops that up and sees an army of docks right next to it. Faber runs away scared. But that's a thing. Looking in the army tab though, factory count in Eladea's favour. He's catching up on the units there. Good to see. Just take down the Faber. Now this is the thing. Eladea's docks now need to start grouping up so that he can defend these positions. Otherwise he's going to find that his Fabers are going to start to die and that his positions are going to start to be lost, because he really needs to have consolidated forces at all his positions that he wants to defend, while at the same time having enough to go out and raid in significant fashion. And that is the conundrum of a pro player. The T2 now from Oxide. Going to start to see slammers coming in. 2 Fabers building that. Going to go up reasonably quickly. At what point will Eladea say it? See it? He sees a comm though. He does not see the factory. That's crucial. Not yet. He might see it with this group. Does he have his own T2 coming up? He does not. He's gone heavier into the air game now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 air factories. Going to start being able to shuffle in more bombers here. He has a good idea of Oxide's build capabilities, but he still doesn't know about the T2 factory. That's crucial. The longer Oxide can keep that T2 factory hidden, the more of an advantage it's going to give him. Currently he's kept it very, very well hidden indeed. The air game though, he needs to prevent the air from scouting it. That's the important bit. Are we going to see boombots? Probably not on a docks heavy map. I mean, if the commander pushes out too far, we'll probably see an insta transition to boombots to maybe get a quick bit of damage off, but we're not going to see any long-term boombot solution simply because of how good docks are at dealing with boombots. So what would be really nice to see here is maybe some more point defense to defend. Oh, couple of good Faber snipes there with a bomber. 3rd one going down, and he'll get a bunch of docks kills as well. Oh, Uber Cannon. That docks army is decimated. There's the T2 reveal. Oxide now knows he has T2 to contend with. He knows that it's halfway up. He knows that it's being built by a Faber. He can assume that it'll be built quicker going forward. Commander now assisting us, so it will be built quicker for going forward. So at this point, Eladea has a choice. He either decides to continue to rush out T1 and just try and swamp and swamp and swamp, or he gets his own T2. And it looks as though he's going to continue to go T1, 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 T1. How will this work for him? We'll have to see. He's got the air game down point, which means he can start factoring in bombers, and going Sparks is a good decision as well, because that gets rid of the docks. The thing is though, Sparks are slow. Sparks are slow, and that means he's going to be less able to defend all of his mechs. And that's the big thing going forward, is he needs to be able to defend his expansions, otherwise what are they for? There we go. Nice bit of snipey there. Air coming in again. You see these sparks though. Don't go towards the light. Bombers coming out, being able to do a raiding. More bombers though. Hummingbird there, managing to get in on the bombers. Are the Hummingbirds ready to defend the bombers? More Hummingbirds coming in from Oxide. How many bombers can Eladea save? Not enough. He's lost a good number. Oxide realising he needs to get back into the air game, factoring in a whole bunch more air factories. 1, 2, 3. He needs more. Has he got some in the queue? No, not yet. But he needs more than 3 in order to keep up. This is an interesting game here, because Oxide has now brought the economies back into his favour. Power is equal. Army tab though, Eladea has the production, but he doesn't have the unit count. That's because he's transitioned to Sparks. He's keeping up the docks a little bit though, but there's the T2 reveal, there's the Slammers, and I think he left it a bit too late. I think Slammers outclass Sparks because of the kiting. And he's going to really struggle to deal with these Slammers now. He needs his T2, or he needs to guarantee the air game, and he can do neither right now. Meanwhile, the slammers are starting to tear through the base. First, it is walls that fall. Next, the pottery class. Then, the road infrastructure. Anyway, whatever. But the point is, these slammers are left to reign free, and there's nothing Eladea can do about it. And he's just going to go straight for the power. Oh no! Could these 4 slammers be the coronation of a new king? Could we see the accession of Oxide Ion the First in just a few short moments? I think we will. Eladea's lost his expansions. He's got a couple left, but he doesn't have the factories anymore because the slammers are there. He's losing out on his power. His mechs is so hard, and there's the GG! That's a new king of the planet right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oxide Ion takes the crown for his own. A wonderful 3-0. Flawless victory. But yes, that was King of the Planet 13, folks. Eladea is no more.